goodness. We're trying to be professional here.
Yeah.
So here we are in Atlanta, Georgia.
Welcome to Atlanta.
Yeah. Don, thanks for having us. And we are at the Roofing Gallery.
Yes.
Did I say that right? Yeah.
It's the Roof Gallery.
The Roof Gallery.
Yep,
All right,
yep.
I got to get that right. And we just got a tour of the only
Yep. The only roof museum in the world.
in the world.
Yep.
Wow.
Did you like the tour?
I loved the tour.
Great.
I loved the tour. I was pleasantly impressed. You know, when you made me put the safety vest on, I was like, "What's going on here?" But it was a good tour. And one of the things that I saw even through that as you were walking us through is you really care about this industry.
Yep.
Like it's not, you were talking about safety and training and not even just the industry, but like you really care about the people that are putting roofs on their homes. You know, I mean, I saw that just in the way when you were going through the shingles and whatnot and showing us that like you don't sponsor one or the other. You're looking for what is best for whoever's coming in to our place here. What is best for them? What fits them?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in roofing in general, it's not really a household name. So you can't really think of a roofing company and you're like, hey, this company, you know?
Right.
And even when I got into the roofing industry, when I was thinking like who's the best, the only person I could think of was Bob the Builder, you know? And he's a cartoon, you know, I'm like, I got to beat him, you know? But I feel like the reason why is because in the roofing industry, there's no one that necessarily pays attention to detail.
Yeah.
So you know how you have like a painter and he'll paint a wall and make it white, but then you have an artist who'll make a painting, but it's the Mona Lisa, you know? And the main difference is that it's how they use the paint. One paid more attention to detail.
Yeah.
So I feel like with the roofing industry, a lot of times it's just based off of the lowest price. And
Yeah.
that's why everyone just competes off of that. You know, they just try to get the builder grade products.
Yeah.
I'll beat that person by $1,000, you know?
Right.
But
right.
when you actually pay attention to the detail, let the homeowners know what they're getting, why, you know, why this product is better than the other, and then put the decision on them, I feel like it gives everyone a better experience.
Well, it really seemed to me that, and it was really creative. You know, you gave us the tour, and I kind of looked at him and I was like, hey, the tour, I thought we were just going to walk around and see his office. And but it caught me off guard because the process which you did it, where you made it kind of fun, and honestly, it made me feel a little bit like a kid, but in a good way, threw me off. And then by the end of the tour, I realized I was learning stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you said the feel like a kid part. Some of it, well, most of it, if you see, is actually inspired by Walt Disney World.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you see like some of the paintings and even as far as, I feel like when you go to Disney World and you think about like a roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
So say, have you been to like Disney World or like in like Six Flags or?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So when you go to Six Flags and you go to the ride, you're waiting in line first, right? And say
Right.
that line wait is say like 35 minutes. Well, when you're waiting in line at Six Flags, you're there, but you're just waiting. Then you get the ride. You're like, hey, you know, have fun. When you're at Disney World, that same 35-minute wait, they're telling a story in the process. So you go there, you're hearing music.
Yeah.
You're hearing the story being told of
Which
wherever
you had
ride.
all of that as we were going through this.
Exactly, you know, so we try to touch all five senses basically. So when you walk in, we try to get you water, sparkling or still. You know, we let you see the artwork. Hopefully it smells good in here.
Yeah.
And we let you guys feel the actual shingles when you get to do the test.
Yeah. I was using a hammer this morning already. So.
Exactly. Got hammered on a Wednesday. And then also you get to hear the music. You know, we had some theme songs as far as for roofing as well. So we try to touch all the senses and, again, just give a different experience for homeowners. Make them feel like Mr. and Mrs. HGTV.
Yeah. Well, and that came through, and then just seeing the different things, and like I almost feel like you tricked me into learning. I wish there was a better way to say that, but it's like, you know, we're going through the different processes, and then we get to the end. And the other thing that I thought was really cool was just the creativity in looking for the most technological advancements. A lot of people probably think there's not a lot of technological advancements in roofing, and there is a lot.
Yeah, and And thanks again. That's one of our core values as far as innovation. So we try to be, look for all the new things, new technology, so that way we can work smarter and not harder. And especially in the roofing industry, because it's top 3 deadliest in the United States.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, people falling off the roof. So you definitely want to find the safest ways and different techniques if you can to do it.
I remember years ago, I was taking an OSHA class, and the instructor made a comment which I had to look up, and I was like, "Is that for real?" And it was something like, and it might have changed now, but back then it was over 12 feet, you have a 50-50 chance.
Exactly.
Which people, I don't think they realize 12 feet is not all that high.
And 50-50.
50-50, live or die, 50-50.
That's crazy.
And I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with how you fall. I mean, but the fact of it is that you have to really pay attention. And that was one of the other things, I didn't even know there was I told you I've been in construction for many years now. And I never knew that there was a roofing boot. Yeah. I thought guys just wore sneakers when they were on a roof, but which I'm big on boots. I think that they're important on the job. I think protecting your feet is important. You can ask anyone on my team. They're like wearing sneakers. And I'm like, where are your boots?
Yeah, I mean, sneakers are, they work too. A lot of the crew, they wear sneakers. Usually wear skateboard sneakers like Vans because they have good, traction. Because the skateboard's like asphalt. So just like
a lot of our team is going to love that you said Vans on the podcast. They're going to be very excited about that.
Yeah, but as far as with the Cougar Paws, it's just is more designed for the roof, and it definitely gives you more traction. So especially when you're on like 8-12 pitches or very steep pitches, you definitely need the right equipment and the right boots, so that way you're not a statistic.
Right. So as we're sitting here at Roofs by Don at the Roof Gallery with the Roofing Museum, which again, only one in the world.
Yep.
What's a little bit about your history? Like, how did you get here? Because you're kind of you're the guy, and I would assume a lot of this is some of your vision and what you're trying to bring together here. How did you end up here? Like, where did this start? Did you I
don't know.
When you were born, did you have a hammer and nail bag on? Like, what was going on?
So basically, so what happened is I'm from Florida. So
okay.
Long story short, right? That's how long stories always happen, right? Long story short. Both my parents are Jamaican. I was born in the Bronx in New York. But I lived
got a lot of culture, man. Jamaican, Bronx, New York, Florida.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
I feel like that's what people from the Caribbean do. So you're in the Caribbean islands, then you move to the United States, but New York, big city, big dreams.
Oh, yeah.
And then you realize that it's too cold. So then you move down south. So it's like a little, migration. So we ended up in Florida, South Florida, and that's I had a good. I was doing music at first. I opened up for Lil Wayne, for Rick Ross, things like that, But I wasn't a household name or anything like that. And I had needed a switching career, so I started doing moving. And I was moving household goods. I was doing from one state to another, so like long distance moving.
Okay.
But I was actually the sales team, so I was the broker.
Okay.
And then we would subcontracted to the actual carriers. I was doing pretty good with that. As far as in Florida, people are known for scamming, really. So I had some bad employees, and they were taking customers' credit cards.
Wow.
It kind of messed up my business a little bit, and I wanted to find something different that when I do a good job that I actually get rewarded for it.
Yeah.
So in the moving industry, it really wasn't that, because I would give a pricing, and then because I was the broker, once I would send it off to the carrier, the price would change.
Right.
So no matter what I would price them, it wasn't a great customer experience,
Right.
So when I came to Georgia, I was trying to look for something different. I ran into a moving job, and it's crazy because when I got there, everyone's wearing suits. I had my brand new Benz at the time. I came from Florida, so I wanted to keep the same, lifestyle. I had to make over 100,000, And I get into a place for an interview. It has white floors. The walls are glass, so it kind of looks like a lawyer's office.
Wow.
And we do the interview, and the first person is like, hey, I got a Porsche. You know, we're gonna be racing after this. I'm like, okay, this is like a nice kind of environment. The other person's like, hey, I have an A7 Audi. He's like, okay, you're in the right place. I'm like, okay, this sounds good. When do I start? You know, the next day I started and it ended up being AT&T. I'm like, okay, the AT&T, and it was door-to-door sales.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, whatever. Let me let's see what this is about. The first week I started working, I broke a record over there. I got 14 sales that first week, and that's where I had met one of my business partners, Dan the Mansion, or Danny
Okay.
Filippelli, and he actually trained me my first week. I stayed there for about 3 months. They had messed up my paycheck, but during that last week, I was working. I had got 8 sales that weekend, and I ran into a roofing owner. That was one of my last sales, and he
Okay.
was like, how many sales do you want today? And I told him how much. He was like, look, man, for what you're doing right now, you could be doing the same thing for roofing, but roofing is a higher ticket item.
Right.
I'm okay. I'm the top producer where I'm at. I'm
Yeah.
fine. But once they messed up my paycheck, I started looking at other opportunities, and I found I was looking at healthcare. I don't know why. I was trying to find something in the insurance though, like health insurance, because I figured that's what made over $100,000.
Right. Yeah.
So they kept calling me. They called me 3 times. And the third time, I was like, you know what? If you give me $1,350, I'll come over and see what you have going on. They were like, no problem. I was like, hey, okay, no problem. So I went over, and that's how my roofing career started. I went over. I seen they had 4 guys. They did a contest, and whoever got the most contingencies that week won $500. The
Wow.
person who won got 2 contingencies. So I was like, when's the next contest?
Yeah.
The next week, I'd got 5. So I'd
Wow.
won, and then I was like, hey, I want to be a top producer, and I want to end up being the regional manager. I'm like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to recruit a bunch of people that's just like me, and eventually they're going to be sales managers, and I'm going to be the regional manager over them. They're like, yeah, no problem. And then within a year time frame, I recruited over 50 people. And the first year, we brought them from $1.2 million to $10.4 million in sales.
What?
Yeah, so yeah, we got them from $1.2 million to $10.4 million in sales
In a year.
in 1 year. The first year. After that, the second year, we did the same thing for another company as well. And then we decided to do roofing for ourselves, and that's
Okay.
when our company, Roofs by Don, and the Roof Gallery started.
Wow. That's really impressive because, a lot of people, you talk about Florida and you talk about, the roofing industry, and you talk about, and even in construction in general, there are people out there who scam. And I find this really interesting because I've heard people say about roofing, it's like, well, it's a once and done interaction. Yeah, but you're building a reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the biggest way that I've seen that business works and grows and people get business is word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend tons of money on advertising and you can build an image, but an image is fake. A reputation is real.
100%.
And so the one thing about roofing that I think people don't realize is usually, from what I've seen, and some of our clients are roofers, it's like, oh, my neighbor had so-and-so do their roof. They did a really good job. And you continue to get work like that, even within your community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things in getting the tour, I got a really good experience about the investment that you guys are making back in your community is actually really big.
Yeah, I feel like just like as far as for roofing, just like you said, the scams.
Yeah.
If you look at on the Better Business Bureau, Angie's Listing, places like that, roofing again is like top 3 as far as shady industries.
Really?
And the reason why is because the old school way is as far as for roofers where they would get on a roof, say, hey, your roof is damaged. Let's do a free inspection, and then they'll climb the roof and actually damage the roof, and then
Wow.
come down and say, oh, your roof is messed up. So the first thing that we started to do to problem solve that was flying drones as far as for the initial inspection. So that way no one has to climb the roof. So,
Again, with the innovation.
yeah,
Like,
so there's no liability. And now a lot of companies, do that more and more often because
Right.
of social media. They see
Yeah.
the aerial shots and things like that. But what I feel like is just like you said, the reputation. There's no household name that has that. So we try to do that by showing the experience.
Yeah.
So one at the roof gallery where you do get the the VIP guided tour, things like that.
Yeah.
But on the actual job site as well, where we take the homeowner around, we show them exactly what we're doing, that we're replacing rotted wood, things like that, have them informed, and we practice safety too by making them wear the hard hat, making them wear a vest, so our guys don't throw anything off on them. They can see the homeowners, things like that.
Yeah.
But we try to do it throughout the whole process, so that way again we show that we're the best company, and then we can get those referrals.
Yeah. That's really cool. Well, we've reached that point where I want to ask you a question. And this one, it's pretty easy. But what is a piece of gear or a tool that Don can't live without? When I say gear, it could be anything from, like an article of clothing, a pair of shoes or something like that, or a tool, meaning, the hammer that you had me using in there. Like, what is something that you have to have if it's the last thing that you're going to have?
I think I would have to say my Cougar paws, as far as for the boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. The main reason why is because I feel like that's what makes me feel the safest when I'm getting on the roof. Obviously, you need a ladder and things like that, but as far as for the Cougar paws, especially on high pitched roofs, steep pitched roofs, where you feel like, hold on,
Yeah.
Those make a big difference.
Wow.
Big difference. Mm.
I can see that. I've been on some roofs. When I was in high school, or in my later years of high school, I actually would work in the summers doing roofs. And
Really?
yeah, I did. And then I knew that I couldn't handle it. We were carrying shingles up ladders, and there was not as much innovation back then. And so I was not cut out for it. But I actually made really good money over the summer doing roofing, which was
it's very lucrative.
Yeah, it is very lucrative. It is very lucrative. So let's talk a little bit more about you. I want to talk a little bit about how we first met. And then I don't like to sit down and have honest conversations and invest time and resources with people unless I see something in them that I would call real and authentic. And the first time I met you was earlier this year. Blackline was doing some media work for an organization called Construction Ready.
Yep.
And we were covering their expo that they had was it January or February? I'm trying to remember.
I think it was February.
And so it was this event where all of these kids from different schools came around, and they got to put their hands on things and experience things and see what a job in the trades might look like. Everything from excavation to plumbing to from the ground all the way to the roof. And so you were there. You had a booth there. And you were actually zipping around on like a little Segway type thing. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And but you were investing in kids. Like that's what and your team was there, and you guys were working. And I don't, I work for a roofer, so I want to be careful here. But call me if you want us to do work for you. But you were different than every other. You weren't the only roofer there, but you were different. And I think that you were different because of your the way that you and your team were intentional about being outgoing. And you were able to, one of the things that the longer that we're in the trades and even as people, the older that we get, I think the farther away from kids we get from understanding that. So I talked with you about mistakes that I've made earlier. And one of those mistakes that I've made is the more experience that I got in the trades, when someone younger would come along and be like, how do you not know this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, how do you not understand this is how this works? And I would get really frustrated. And one of the things that I saw from you and your team was you really were maintaining that connection with, hey, they have no idea. We want to make them feel comfortable. We want to make them feel safe. We want them to see that, hey, there's an opportunity here, and there's cool people in this industry that you could work alongside.
And I feel like that's mainly, thank you for saying that. I feel like we kind of do that intentionally. So
it's obvious that you do it intentionally. Yeah.
And I feel like the main reason why is because if you say like the trades, I feel like roofing is like golf, like when you say like a sport, right? So it's like the unsexy trade, roofing, the roofer. If someone just thinks about it, you probably think like the old guy, dirty construction boots,
Right.
So we have to show that you can be any kind of person, you can be someone that likes music. You can be official. There's no certain look to it,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we like to be dream facilitators. So we don't want people to think that
That's a good line.
once you become a roofer, it kills your dreams.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a roofer now. It's over. It's supposed to be something where you can make money because it's lucrative, and that can actually help facilitate whatever else you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a realtor, you want to do real estate, now you're able to have some funds to be able to do so.
Yeah.
If you want to do music, or we're in Atlanta, so a lot of people are in the entertainment. So if you want to do music, pictures, photographers, we have the media room.
Yeah.
So they're able to use that as well. So we try to, we have people that like dogs. So we sponsor the Atlanta Humane Society, made a custom dog house. So whatever
cool.
people like to do, we like to try to help out. So again, they feel like roofing is fun. And when they come here, they're getting a team that's going to help them do whatever they want to do.
I feel like one of the big things, when you're young is like you just said, well, I'm going to be this for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. And a roofer, oh my gosh.
Yeah. but one of the big things about the trades that I think people don't realize, is that the opportunity. I did a podcast with a guy from Kiewit Construction, which is a very large. They would say they do everything but build houses, and so a very large, construction organization here in the United States. And the guy that I was interviewing, he made a comment, and he said, in our organization, you can be like, hey, I'm doing this, you know what? And they're so big, it's like, hey, I want to try that. Mm-hmm. And he made this comment that I think is really important to get out there. And it's like, what you learn in learning this trade doesn't mean you lose it when you go to that, whatever it might be. You're learning things that you're able to take with you, and they build upon things, and it's like, I think that's really important for young people to realize. Like when I was 17, 18, even 19, I was like, well, this is what I'm doing the rest of my life. And it would overwhelm me with making a decision about, well, what do I want to work on? What do I want to do? It's got to be X. And part of that was, I wanted everything now. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that I needed to go through the process so that I would be able to handle what was given to me, if that makes sense.
It makes 100% sense. I even feel like that as well, because like I said, when I was in Florida at first, I was doing music at first,
Right.
And when I got into roofing, me actually making a roofing song called Every Shingle Day, that actually helped propel a lot of things, because I did that. It went a little viral on social media.
Really?
So the roofing industry, they play behind their videos and things like that. And every time, and I got booked for a lot of conferences because of that. So then once I started going out for conferences, I started doing like sales training and marketing classes, things like that.
Right.
And everyone, hey, Every Shingle Day, that's Roofs by Dawn. They want to take pictures and things like that. And it's really off of the song at first, And I made like a couple roof jingles after, But because of that, I was like, hey, that's the roofer rapper kind of guy,
Right.
And then it propelled into more things,
Yeah.
So because I had that transferable trade, you'd say, or transferable talent.
I'm going to actually take that and write that down, because we're going to use that transferable trade. I like that. Totally going to steal that from you.
Yeah, but because of that, I was able to do different things in roofing and show my own personality.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what it's all about. It's all about just being yourself.
Yeah.
And when you're yourself, people see that you're authentic.
Yeah.
So they can gravitate to that, and you can kind of get your own tribe of people.
Yeah.
So there doesn't have to be necessarily another rapper roofer. I'm not necessarily even trying to be a rapper roofer. It's just something that I like to do.
Right.
And then people can see it and see that as natural.
Yeah.
And but you can be a fisherman.
Yeah.
But if you're the one that's catching the most bass out there, then all of a sudden you're on the roof doing it, people are going to gravitate to you because people like that, So it's all about being yourself and just showing your natural self in different kinds of habitats, not necessarily just on a roof or whatever trade you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing that comes through in your authenticity is caring. And, I don't just say that, and I do some research when I talk with people. And since I, met you last February, I've been following you on social media. I've been following you on Instagram, and watching some of the different things that you're doing. And, I'm a northern boy. I live above the Mason-Dixon line, and I like the cold. This Georgia heat is
Really? Oh man.
yeah, it's a little different for me. But I was I think it was like March, maybe it was April. I'm not sure, but I was following you guys on social media, and there was this lady in Baltimore,
Yes.
and she needed a roof, and you guys came up there. You're like, that's a trip. I know, because I make that trip
Yep.
from Georgia to where I live, and you guys came up there, and you were posting on it, but you weren't posting on it like, hey, look at us.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, and this is one of the big things, if you're listening to this and you're in the trades and you're not in social media because you're like I was, and still am a little bit, where you're like, yeah, that's not for me. That's not what I do. What Roofs by Don was doing when you guys were posting about that was you were communicating so that other people could see, hey, this is the investment that we can give back
Mm-hmm.
to people, and take, and you were even revealing that business isn't bad, because you were taking profits and investing it back into not even your community. You were investing it into people that weren't even, like, I would get it if you did it here because this is where your work is, but like,
That's what everyone is saying. Yeah.
yeah. But you guys got, in your vehicles, you went up there and you did this work for her, and you helped her out because she couldn't afford to do that.
You know what it was? Well, the roofing industry, like, when they posted it, so a lot of people were like, "Hey, I'll help. Let me figure out." And at the end of the day, when I seen the first story, the initial story when it broke
Yeah.
on the news,
Yeah.
and she kind of reminded me of like my grandma or something,
Yeah.
And basically, what it was another company that was in Baltimore. They took on the job. They took $5,000 from her, but then they didn't actually complete the job. So they left the roof in actually worse condition than it was in when she initially contracted them.
Wow.
So we definitely wanted to help out, and help out the community. So I definitely had resources that were in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So I was able to reach out to them, and we provided the finances for it through our roof museum.
Good for you.
At the end of it, I had to fork up a lot of it myself too. But I just felt like it was the right thing to do, when we were out there. So yeah, it was in Baltimore. It was somewhere that's totally different. But the impact I felt like was the right thing. And as a person in the roofing industry, because we're able to make money,
Yeah.
when we see things that are not right, I feel like there's a little obligation that if we can clean it up to do so.
Yeah.
And again, changing that image where, again, people think roofing is a scam or they think it's a shady industry. So we have to show them and lead by example that,
Come on.
there are good companies out there.
Come on. Yeah. Well, and I think that, that's one of the big things. And I know I said it before, but I'm going to say it again because it needs to be said. If you're in the trades, I think we struggle a lot with self-promotion, because I think for the most part, tradesmen and tradeswomen, the people that do the work, that work with their hands and do that stuff, a lot of them are really humble. And so, social media and media in general and promoting yourself and what you're doing feels a little bit like, hey, look at me, and I think that you were doing something there that people need to look at differently and be like, it's more about how we can lift the view of the trades by promoting what it is that we're doing. And we're promoting doing it right.
100%.
That's what you're talking about. I said to someone the other day, I said, a big reason why Blackline is doing what they're doing and why we're trying to get out there and work with contractors, and tradesmen and tradeswomen about promoting and telling their stories is because, for every one that does it right, or let me see if I say this, for every 100 guys that do it right, and they really care, and they would do that. Like, I know a lot of guys that would have found that out and done that and not promoted it at all. And I would say they're missing a great opportunity, because when people see that, it like affects them, that they're like, you know what, I want to be like that. Don looks happy. Don looks like this is a good thing. I want to be like that. You affect that, you influence them. And what we need to be doing in the trades is recognize, hey, I can be influencing people. And if I'm not doing that, well, who can see the good? And the thing is, for 100 people that are doing it right and doing the good, one of them can wipe out all 100 of them. Because that bad news or that scammer or whatever it is puts that. It's just like, when you watch the news, bad news sells.
They're gonna get the most promotion.
They are going to get the most promotion. Yeah, and so it's like the importance of us talking about what we do. Sitting down here and like time is money. And we aren't doing this off hours. We're in the middle of your workday, and you're sacrificing time to be here to communicate and talk about the trades, talk about the next generation, talk about, which I'm not surprised, having gone through the roof gallery, having seen the museum, you guys really do care. And so that's obvious of why you're taking the time to do this.
Yeah, no, 100%. And on different levels, I feel like one in the roofing industry in general. So why we do our education courses, our OSHA certified courses, is because it is one of the most deadliest in business, period.
Yeah.
And I feel like with as far as safety wise, I feel like the roofing industry doesn't really care as much about their people. The reason I say that is because, for instance, driving, right? We know that it's deadly. You know that people get in car accidents and die. So you get a driver's license.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's standard, right?
Yeah.
In roofing, we know that it's one of the top deadliest jobs, in the industry, but it's not mandatory that you get OSHA certified to climb the roof. So and I feel like a lot of the real disconnect is that a lot of times the roofing owners aren't the ones that's on the roof. So a lot of times they're hiring labor, or they want to say they're hiring illegals, whatever it is, like the reputation, is going on. So the joke in the roofing industry is, hey, we're going to fire them before they hit the ground, or things like that, So, but in every joke, there's a little bit of truth to it, That's how they think. So at the end of the day, you just kind of have to look at it like, hey, this is my family on the roof. You want them to be as safe as possible, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing would be being OSHA certified, because then that's when you get ladder safety. That's when maintain 3 points of contact, because someone actually teaches you.
Right.
And basically, I feel like with that's why we do our training. So we get people OSHA certified. We had our OSHA day where we, on 420, like I said, was called Ladders and Ridge Pros, helping roofers stay high.
Yeah.
We got everyone OSHA certified that day. We do different kinds of safety protocols. So we have something, his name is the Best Damn Roofer. He's based in Canada, big time, and he has a safety harness and things like that. So we get those, and we do giveaways and just different things like that to try to make roofing cool and make the safety part, something that's not a suggestion, but more of a standard.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah.
I think that's just important in the industry overall is, that we are making things a standard, and it's not even something like, I don't think there needs to be a law passed or this or that to make it a standard, because if as an industry we step up to the line, and we're like, hey, this is the way that we're going to do it, and more of us begin to do that, that affects change.
100%. I feel like also it has to be where people care, but that has to be on them, because at the end of the day, they're going to feel like it's affecting their bottom line.
Yeah.
To get someone OSHA certified. But when you really think about it, you'll have roofing owners that will pay thousands of dollars to get their salespeople trained,
right?
To bring in more money.
Yeah.
But they don't want to spend $200 to get them an OSHA class to make sure that they stay alive.
Right.
So I feel like it's just as far as priorities.
Yeah.
So when people say safety first, it shouldn't just be like a slogan. It should be something that's real.
I love Mike Rowe says something called safety third. And I love it, because I think when we say safety first, we kind of gloss over it, because it's not true. Because Mike Rowe says safety third. He said, well, first we have a job we got to do. I mean, we're here to make money.
Yes.
Because we all have, bills to pay, mortgages, whatever it is, families to feed. And he said, so first we have a job. And, second, we need to, and I'm butchering this because I can't remember exactly how he says it, but I think the second is, we got to get it out. We got to get out there and we got to do it. And then safety is third. And so it's like, you know, how do we do these things and be honest about it? Like, don't say safety's first, because if safety was first, then you wouldn't go climb up on a roof where you have a higher chance of being hurt. You know, I mean, that's just, it's not the reality.
You got to get the job done first.
You got to get the job done first, and you got to be effective at it. You know, you got to make money, and then you need to be safe in how you do that. And so I think one of the things that I love about how he says that is that we don't gloss over it then. Like, I can't tell you how many places that I've been in where there's a sign that says safety first. And just the other day, this happened. A guy's wearing like a, you know, neon safety shirt, and it has the company name on the back, and it says safety starts with me. And I didn't take a picture, but he was doing something that clearly was not OSHA, clearly was not safe. And I'm like, so it's like, we can shout it all day long, but it's like, if you have something that, you know, you're not making a point to be intentional about how you're doing it, it doesn't matter how many times you shout it, it just becomes white noise. And then you forget it. And then it's like, and then you have someone wearing a shirt that says safety starts with me, and the rest of the world's going, oh, I see what safety is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I definitely feel like it's something that's glossed over.
Yeah.
So it's something that needs to be, again, made more of a standard and not suggestion.
Yeah.
And then on the homeowner side, as far as caring, I feel like actually showing the process.
Yeah.
You know, that alone, showing the details, so that way the homeowners are more involved.
Yeah.
Then that way they're able to actually see the benefits of what they're doing, and they don't get tricked or scammed because they're just going for the lowest price.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really it. I feel like when you put a little bit more time into things, you get better results.
Well, and, you know, back to what you're talking about, people not wanting to invest $200, but invest in sales training and whatnot. I really think that's like short-term thinking. And is what I mean by that is you invest in training your people to be safe and to do that stuff. That's like the long game. And the long game is more profitable. It truly is.
Exactly.
And when you do that, then you have, you know, happy people. You have people who enjoy the culture that they work in. Like I remember years ago in one of the companies that I managed, I had to make a choice to invest in culture, which I can't touch it. I can't feel it. And, you know, we hired a consulting group, and it was the most money that I spent ever in my life for something that I couldn't put my hands on. And it became extremely lucrative for me because we were able to put handles on our culture and hand it over to people and be like, this is what it is to be a Blackline. This is what it is, you know, and they were able to see those things. And then what happened was, as we continued to build on that and make that investment, our hiring process and our firing process got way better, meaning people were firing themselves that realized they didn't align with our culture.
Yep.
They're like, you know what, this really isn't the place for me. And quite frankly, if you don't align with our culture, then it isn't the place for you, and that's okay. But then the other thing that began to happen, which was fascinating to me, was we made that investment, and then I had people leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table at another organization to come be part of our organization because they realized that they aligned with that culture. And I have been the guy that has made big money and been in a culture that I didn't like. And then I've been a guy that's made less money, still good money, but less, and been in a culture where I love coming to work, where I love doing what I do, and I enjoy it. I feel fulfilled. I feel satisfied. And it's like, I realized that it wasn't about chasing the dollar, but it was about chasing the culture that I wanted to be a part of. And it talks about, you know, just being with people who care and want to make a difference, you know. And so that's something that I think that people just need to realize, especially in our industries, in construction, in roofing, in the trades overall. If you're a business owner, like you're being smart with your money if you're investing in those things that build your people, whether it's training, whether it's, you know, building a culture that people want to be a part of. And honestly, when you spend money investing in culture, you begin to realize if maybe you don't have a great culture, and then you need to do what you need to do to change it, because you highlight that, and you have to deal with it. Like I'm an electrician by trade. When you turn the lights on, you have to deal with what you see in the room.
Yep.
When you turn the lights off and it's dark, you don't see it. You don't even know that it's there. You don't even know that it's an issue. But man, when the light comes on, it's like, oh, this is a mess. You know?
Yeah, I feel like culture is definitely a big thing, especially with our company. I kind of feel like I bring the culture to the roofing industry in general. I'm the person that any room that I'm in, I'm usually playing music. I need like a theme song.
Yeah.
Like, like with me. So like I feel, just making things fun and bringing that to the forefront. And that's why I said, like, with our team, we like to be dream facilitators,
Yeah.
Because again, it's not supposed to be something that, kills your dreams or seems like a dead end or like, okay, this is it. It's supposed to be something that we're energizing ourselves, and,
Right.
and everyone around us. And when you are authentic and you're showing your culture, you're able to attract your own tribe. Just like you said, people who actually like you and actually want to be part of your company too,
Right.
even if they are going to take a slight pay cut, because again, they're around people who they like.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about having a great quality of life.
Yeah.
So you might can get over on somebody if you do something shady or you try to give them the lowest cost materials, just so you can make extra money. But if you actually help someone out, give them a better experience, even if you make a little less on that job, in the long run, you're going to get a referral.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
going to say the experience they have. So sometimes it's about, being authentic, having fun. And because I did music in the past, when I think about work, I always wanted to have an environment that I like.
Yeah.
So I like to, hear music. So we'll have music in the background. We have the Apple HomePods. We have artwork. We do events, to make it fun, but also to provide that ambiance, I would say, for the roofing industry in that platform.
Well, I think that's something else that I see that, just even being here and seeing your facility. And I think this is an important thing to touch on in the trades and in construction is, I think that people think that there's not a lot of creativity in the trades or in construction, or maybe even specifically in roofing. People don't think there's a lot of creativity. And one of the things that I can see that you're highlighting is creativity is everywhere in what we do. It is everywhere.
It's just about those transferable trades or transferable talents.
Yeah.
So if you're creative, it doesn't die when you get into roofing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to use your creative talents and get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
So same thing. If you're real technical, and then you get into roofing, get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different opportunities. There's people who make different roofing tools. There's
Right.
hand tools. Look, someone made the Cougar Paws.
Yeah.
There can be someone else that's creative that makes the other version. So there's different things that people are doing. As well. And I guess people are getting more vocal about it because of social media.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, and I know I really got on a soapbox about social media earlier, but the thing is, it's like, well, I have some people that are, where I am in life, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to get on that because it's a waste of time and there's just a bunch of garbage. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, well, then get on there and start putting not garbage on there.
Exactly. You got to be the change that you want to see. Right?
Exactly. And so it's like, I wasn't on social media for most of my life, but now it's like, wow, some of these things that I've learned, and it's really, really, really hard because you have to take a risk. You have to step out there and be like, wow, I might get criticized or I might look dumb, but it's like, I think that it's more important to share things with people so that we can kind of, there's a phrase that says rising tides lift all boats, and it's like in lifting the view of the trades, I think that as we get out there and we're promoting these things and we're lifting the view for everybody, that's a positive.
Yeah, I mean, well, with social media in general, you have to use social media. You have to be in the game. So that's not, I feel like now that's not the conversation where if you should be doing it or not. If you're not doing it, you're behind. It's kind of like the yellow pages, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the people I was like, I don't want to go on the yellow pages.
Yeah.
I don't want to put my number on there.
Yeah.
You know, you're behind because that's where everyone found business.
Right.
So now everyone finds most business on social media. There is no yellow pages like that anymore.
Yeah. When's the last
So-
time you picked up a phone book? Like, seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is social media. So if you're not there, you're a spectator. You're not in the game.
Yeah.
So the first thing to do is get your social media. So now you're in the game.
Yeah.
And then it's basically how well you play to be. If you're a superstar,
Yeah.
you're gonna be posting more. You get more play time.
Well, I'm sitting next to a superstar in social media for sure.
Thank you,
You know.
thank you. But I mean that's what I feel like it's about because at the end of the day, social media you can transfer that to dollars.
Yeah.
So there's social media that sells, and the way that you do that is by promoting your company.
Yeah.
So even with if you think about the biggest companies, they have commercials, right?
Right.
So social media is like your own channel. So my Roots by Don, that's my channel on TV, for instance.
Right.
And every video that I do is a commercial. So no matter what, even if you plan on being big, you have to
Yeah.
do what the biggest companies do, right?
Absolutely.
And if they make commercials, then that means you have to make your commercials. And social media is free commercials
yeah.
where you don't have to spend money on it. Where, they have to get Jake from State Farm. You could potentially be your own Jake from State Farm.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is pick up your phone and it's free,
Yeah.
So you definitely just have to get in the game. Obviously, it takes practice. So anything you do, you're not going to be great at first.
Yeah. My first
but-
podcast will never see the light of day.
Yeah, the first year, I had 1,000 followers. I didn't,
Yeah.
even, maybe less than that, just starting, but just about being consistent.
Yeah.
And then once you get good, you're going to start just being yourself. You don't have to, a lot of times people think about what am I going to record,
Right.
Or say, for instance, if it's door-to-door with roofing,
Right.
you knock on someone's door and they reject you, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not delete, let me not post that one. But that might be the video that everyone wants to see.
Right.
Because just like basketball, if you make it, yeah, of course you saw that. But it's if you missed it, how did you react to it? Did you get the
Yeah.
rebound? Did you bounce back?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's about how you react to certain situations that people want to see, or things like that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that the more that we do stuff that people want to see and they want to learn, and if we
Exactly.
can help other people and encourage them along, because I think you and I both know, because we both have knocked on doors in our career,
Mm-hmm.
you get more no's than you get yeses.
100%.
Yeah, but the ability to continue to keep going, and also as you do these things, whether you're building culture or you're promoting the industry or you're being real and authentic, all of these things and playing the long game where you're investing in your people, all of that stuff, it ties in with business as well, where it's like, I don't want one big job. I want clients that continue to promote me. I want 1,000 little jobs where it's like we're that consistency, consistency of work. And it's like, because I want to be building a reputation that people are like, I want to align with that. I don't want to be building this facade of because the truth, it's just like turning the lights on in the room. It always comes out.
Always.
When you turn the lights on, you can't not see it. The only way to not see it is to close your eyes to it. And so that's you need to be turning the lights on in your business, in your company, in your life, in your social media. Like, that's literally what turning the lights on is. In some ways, is what is it that you're promoting? Are you showing people where you fail and where you've missed it? Are you revealing it to them so that they can learn and that they can move on to the next thing?
Yeah, because it's kind of like when I'm watching someone where they have like stocks, for instance.
Yeah.
And they always show the wins, but they never show like when they lost at all.
Yeah.
So
and they lost. They lost.
You know that they did,
Yeah.
So when you see that one person that actually shows both sides, you
Yeah.
believe them more.
Absolutely.
Because you see that, they're showing you both sides.
Yeah.
So I feel like again, it's, like you said, it's all about just being authentic. And when you show the whole picture, the whole story,
Yeah.
then people can buy into you more.
Yeah. Well, this is a great segue into the last question that I wanted to ask you. And I told you I call this mistakes and motivation. And so it's like, so Don, let's be real and authentic here. What is a mistake that you've made that, you're willing to share with us and those who might be listening that they can learn from something that didn't work or didn't go the way that you wanted it to, or that you can share with people that it's like, hey, here's something that I didn't do right, but you can learn from my mistake and you can then go farther.
Yeah. Okay. What I think would be a main thing, a real big thing is, so me, I'm a little rebellious, right? And, and I feel like a lot of maybe like entrepreneurs are a little bit, they want to, go against the grain.
Yeah.
And my main thing first was, I don't want to manage people. I'm not a man. I want to be the, I want to get these things done, but I don't want to necessarily have to micromanage people too much.
Right.
But what I realized is you have to know every part of your job, and you have to be the best of the best regardless, especially when you're wanting to scale. But at first you are that position. You're every part of the kitchen,
Yeah.
And so
many hats.
Yes, and at the end of the day, the things that the magic is in the things you're trying to avoid. So at the end of the day,
the magic is in the things that you're trying
to avoid. So at the end of the day, that's what I was trying to avoid. But that's exactly what I needed to do, and have a little more structure. And just me as a person, I'm like a hunter, so I like to go get the sales. But as far as being organized, going to the basics of the business, so getting core values. A lot of times, there's a lot of roofing companies that start, and they're just in business, but they didn't really work on the business. They don't really have core values yet, or a vision, or a mission statement, And it's the basic things like that you actually need in order to when you want to excel, you want to scale.
Right.
And then the last thing I'll just say is just as far as finances wise, having an accountant.
Yeah.
Especially in the roofing industry, you think everything is good, and a lot of times, you're figuring it out. But if you're growing, and especially if you're growing, and when you're dealing in roofing with the insurance, when they're not necessarily, you have to wait in order to get paid.
Yeah.
Growing,
that's a fun part about construction.
Yeah, and growing can kind of be a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
If you're getting a lot of business, but now you have to front a lot of that money, before you get paid on the back end.
Yeah.
So just having an accountant, so that way you have a full grasp of the finances.
Yeah.
What's coming out and what's going in and what's coming out. Those will be the two main things. So sticking to business fundamentals, get core values, vision, mission statement. Having processes, and then also an accountant.
So you made a comment there where you said where the magic is. I'm trying to remember the comment that you said.
The magic is in the things you're trying to avoid.
The magic is in the things that you're trying to avoid. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're listening and there are things that you're trying to avoid, you got to face them. You got to look at them. You got to turn the lights on. You got to shine that light in the dark so that you can see what it is that needs fixed. Mm-hmm. You talk about finances. Something that I always tell our CFO when we're talking and I'm looking at reports, and I've worn every hat in the company, and it's really good that I'm not wearing some of them anymore. Let me just say that. But one of the things I always tell him, I'm like, so I'm flying the plane, and I love history and things like that, and I tell him a story about World War II and like the B-17 and how they had a team that flew the plane. Mm-hmm. So there was a pilot. There was a co-pilot, and then there was a navigator. And your finances are a lot like a navigator in the sense of, in that role, being able to tell those who are flying the plane, hey, there's a mountain over here. You want to kind of go a little bit to the left.
Exactly.
And it's like, and that's really important to not avoid those things, because you're going to hit the ground if you're not paying attention. Mm-hmm. And it's not because you're bad at your job or you're bad at this or that, but if you're not looking at those things, if you're not turning towards the things that you want to avoid, you're never going to find the magic.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of like being like a baby in business. At first, you're like, like a baby where they're crossing the street.
Yeah,
you're not going to look both ways necessarily. Then you have an adult. Hey, look both ways.
Exactly.
I feel like that's the same thing when you're trying to avoid certain things.
Yeah,
it's kind of like you're trying to be a baby about it. You know, you don't want to look both ways, and then an adult has to come in like, hey, look both ways, have to school you. But when you actually do it, you realize why you had to do it. And again, that's when you actually get to the results that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I feel like that's with everything. You work out, say you're in track, you want to be a track star, but you don't want to work out.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do that in order to get
You
to
got
what
to
you
do
want.
it.
Yeah, if you're on a diet, of course you want to eat everything you want to eat.
Yeah.
But if you really want those results, you got to
You have to do the hard things.
Exactly.
You just have to do the hard things. So we're coming to a close here. We talked this morning. I love you. You talked about investment in people and community. You talked about training. You talked about changing the way that it looks in our industry, what people see. So what is something that you just would want to motivate people with, whether, we were talking about where we first met, whether you're just getting out of school or whether, you're in your 40s or what it is, what would you be encouraging people with as we leave the line here today?
I encourage people to, one, think about what you want to do in life and use the things that you've done in the past.
Yeah.
And use those transferable skills, and talents and put that into your trade. So that way you can feel, like you're adding value and you're being the most authentic self.
Yeah.
So that way you don't feel like, you're in an environment where you can't grow. And I feel like when I say in an environment, even just in the industry, for instance, roofing is as old as time, right? Everyone had a house or some kind of shelter, right? But there's things that still can be changed. There's still different ways to do things. It doesn't have to be the same way just because that's how we've done it.
Come on.
So sometimes you just have to think out the box, and you can be a 40-year-old who's just got into the industry, but because you're looking at it from a new set of eyes, you can have a different perspective.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's really about. Even just being, black in the roofing industry, there was not a lot of black roofing owners. Like, I didn't know anybody, but until social media, people started to follow me and say, hey, I'm a black roofing owner too, But just by having diversity, you can have a different perspective. Yeah. And then with that, you're able to, maybe be a better change.
Yeah. Well, Don, you are probably my first and my last roofing rapper that has ever been on the line.
Yep.
So
a one of one.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks so much for sitting down and having a real and honest conversation with me on the line.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Had the theme music in the back. That was like the closing music, right?
It was perfect. It was perfect. That was perfect. Man, I so appreciate your time. Seriously. Thank you so much.